The Space Force, the final bureaucratic frontier. From Sputnik to Star Wars, space militarization isn't new. It started the moment the Soviets hurled Sputnik into orbit in 1957, leaving the US military to stare up and mutter, "Well, that can't be good." The Cold War saw satellites become the ultimate spies, missile detection tools, and GPS providers. The US used them to guide missiles with terrifying precision. The Soviets used them to, well, spy, and also to do Soviet things. By the 21st century, space was no longer just for NASA nerds and billionaire joyrides. It became a vulnerable battlefield. China, Russia, and even some rogue actors decided that breaking satellites was a cool new way to mess with world order. Enter the Space Force, tasked with ensuring America's dominance in the cosmos, and presumably defending against alien invasions if necessary, or at least making sure Elon Musk doesn't declare himself a supreme ruler of Mars. Space, the final bureaucratic frontier. Unlike land, sea, or air, space has no borders, no natural defenses, and no parking zones. You can't set up a barbed wire fence around a satellite, nor can you declare, "This is America's moon now," although give it time. It's a domain that operates under the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which basically says, "Hey guys, no nukes in space, okay?" But treaties, as history has shown, are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine when tensions rise. Space is filled with essential satellites running everything from military communications to your Uber Eats order. If one goes down, it's not just the military that suffers. Millions could suddenly find themselves forced to, dare I say it, read maps again. Yes, actual physical paper maps. The horror. The Space Force, despite sounding like the setting of a B-list sci-fi movie, is an actual legitimate military branch. It exists under the Department of the Air Force, much like how the Marine Corps is part of the Navy, except the Marines actually fight people, and the Space Force fights Wi-Fi outages. Space Force members, dubbed Guardians, yes really, focus on satellite operations, missile warning systems, and making sure China and Russia don't get any funny ideas. Their primary missions include space superiority, making sure American satellites stay safe and enemy satellites stay confused. Space situational awareness. Knowing where every piece of space junk is, including that one wrench an astronaut dropped in 1984 that is still in orbit. Missile warning, detecting launches before they become big fiery problems. Satellite communication, ensuring that GPS, military coordination, and late-night binge-watching remain uninterrupted. The Space Force also works closely with other government agencies like NASA, the NSA, and probably some ultra-secret organization we'll only learn about in 50 years when the documents get declassified and make for a great conspiracy theory. The militarization of space is like giving toddlers flamethrowers, fun to watch until someone loses a planet. Global stability now depends on whether major powers can avoid turning space into a cosmic war zone. The first kinetic attack on a satellite could trigger a chain reaction of debris that could render entire orbits unusable, a doomsday scenario known as the Kessler syndrome, where space debris smashes into more space debris until Earth is encased in an impassable garbage field. Basically, imagine a highway pile-up that never stops. But wait, it gets worse. Space warfare isn't just about smashing satellites anymore. Cyberattacks, electronic warfare, and non-kinetic weapons, like jamming or hijacking signals, mean you might never see an enemy strike. It could just be your GPS suddenly sending you to Siberia when you meant to go to Starbucks. That's assuming your internet even works, because another scenario involves a world where everyone is suddenly forced to remember how to entertain themselves without YouTube or Netflix. Mass hysteria would undoubtedly follow. The good news, the Space Force is working on architecture resilience, aka throwing so many satellites into orbit that shooting one down doesn't matter. The bad news, we're basically just daring each other to escalate this mess like a group of kids daring each other to see who can hold their breath the longest underwater while tied to an anchor. The Space Force was originally met with mockery, and for good reason. It was announced with all the gravitas of a reality show. But as geopolitical tensions rise and technology advances, it's becoming clear that conflict in space isn't if, but when. The question is, will we learn from history, or will we turn space into the next battlefield? If history is anything to go by, well, let's just say it might be a good time to start investing in underground bunkers. And if all else fails, at least we'll have Guardians of the Galaxy reruns to remind us of what space should be about: exploration, adventure, and most importantly, not blowing things up. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You now qualify for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Smashing that like button instantly increases your coolness by 327%. Scientifically unproven but spiritually accurate. Subscribing guarantees good vibes and fewer traffic jams in your life. Hitting the notification bell may or may not summon a tiny dancing robot to your home, so go ahead, click those magical buttons before they get lonely. Otherwise, a mildly disappointed virtual pigeon will be sent to stare at you judgmentally. Thanks for watching, you're awesome.